Hey, it's Adam here, and you're watching The Culture Hack, where we're talking about how to create engaged workspaces that unlock the potential of your teams and drive your business forward in ways you've never seen. So stay tuned. Hello, Filip Cicek, founder and lead researcher of Ruthless Insights. Thanks for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it. I'm super excited to chat with you. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate your time and glad to be here.
Fantastic. Well, first of all, tell us a little bit about Ruthless Insights. What kind of great things are you up to?
Okay, so Ruthless Insights is essentially a research agency that helps companies root their products and services in their customers' needs. Aside from Ruthless Insights, something I've been developing for the last few months is what I call Satisfact. And Satisfact is basically when you put good research into employee satisfaction, you get great employee satisfaction data. And yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Okay, interesting. So you kind of got a research angle in there tied with employee satisfaction. Well, let's dig in a little bit. First, let's talk about employee satisfaction. What does a satisfied, engaged employee look like to you?
So I think there's kind of two intersecting terms when we talk about employee satisfaction, and they often get confused. And that's employee satisfaction and employee engagement. There's this underlying assumption that an engaged employee is always a satisfied employee and vice versa. Now, in research, we know that's not necessarily true. So you can have very satisfied employees that are not necessarily engaged employees and vice versa. What I wanted to do is I wanted to help companies figure out what they're doing wrong when it comes to employee satisfaction. Why? Because obviously churn and employee turnover costs a lot of money. So what do we need to do as researchers to provide companies with great data so that they can give employees what they need so they don't leave? So when we talk about these things, that's kind of how I think about them. I don't know if I answered your question or not, but
Okay,
yeah.
so if I'm an employee, I obviously, my experience is the most personal and most important thing to me. So how I feel about the company, how I'm interacting, that's all great. I'm obviously very aware of that, but it's all in my head. So how is the company supposed to know what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling? Is that kind of what you're trying to dig out of all this?
That's 100% what I'm trying to do. Spending 4 years of my career actually being a recruiter and seeing why employees leave and what they say at an interview versus what they say at an exit interview, and kind of having that perspective, and obviously having the research background. What I've tried to do is, and I've also seen how other employee satisfaction surveys are being done. And I really, as a researcher, I wasn't really satisfied with it. Why employee satisfaction surveys? First of all, employees are not honest, and that's part of what you said. Like, how does a company extract what you think, right? You most likely won't be honest. Why? Because you need a job. You don't trust the anonymity of the whole process, and also the question is whether the questions in there are the right research questions. So in order for you as a researcher to get good data about employee satisfaction, first you need to ask good questions. You need to ask them in a right way and in the right order, across the categories that are meaningful, that can actually give you some kind of insight as a company. And will all of the employees be super satisfied after you make all of the changes after Satisfact research? Of course not. But you will get way better results than with traditional employee satisfaction surveys.
So in your process, if I think back to some of the employee surveys that I've done in my time, I don't know, I can't remember how many questions there are, but are they longer? Do you do them more often? Like, what's the difference between yours and the, every couple of year engagement survey?
Well, first of all, is Satisfact is not just a survey. That's the first thing. Satisfact is what we call a mixed methods research process. So we do surveys and then we do qualitative interviews. whether these interviews are group interviews, individual interviews, really depending on the company structure. So we tailor it to every company. When it comes to the length of the survey, for if you ask someone who doesn't know what the survey is about, they would say, oh, survey takes, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. That's a long survey. I beg to differ. If employees are motivated to fill out the survey, which is something that we do, we set up the whole situation in such a way that the employees have time and energy to fill out that survey, because they're filling the survey during their work hours, so they're getting paid for it. In that case, you can afford to have a longer survey, which is sensitive to nuance, to details, and based on that, you can again have those deeper insights. And once you put interviews and analyze them together with those survey findings, you get a pretty solid perspective on both the range, like how many employees feel a certain way, and then you also get the why. Like, why do my employees feel a certain way? Is there like a particular manager that might be an issue? Is there maybe a team environment that's a problem? Is it like, how can we structure compensation in a way that it's more suitable for employees, their needs and whatnot? Maybe they need more flexibility, and that can be a part of compensation, right? So all of those things are uncovered with the Satisfact survey, which is kind of interplay between both qualitative and quantitative findings.
Oh, okay, interesting. So what about microsurveys have come up a lot in my travels recently, where it's like ongoing, kind of like one question week to week. How does that fit into your Satisfact?
So Satisfact, like I never envisioned any type of micro surveys to go along with Satisfact. I think they can be a useful tool. With Ruthless Insights, I'm doing a lot of user experience research, and this is the field in which micro surveys can be really useful. But you also need to be aware of certain things with micro surveys. That's something that we researchers call a research situation, which is, what is the state of mind of my participants, and what is the state of their environment, or in other words, what is their set and setting at the time in which they're giving me those particular answers. You as a researcher, you try to control the research situation as much as you can so that you're getting the best possible answers. What I feel is that with micro surveys, people kind of just tend to fill them out on the fly. So you're not really controlling that research situation, which skews your findings. Sometimes that's something you can live with, and that's fine. Like, hey, where do you want to have the group event? Like this or that location. Perfect. Okay, microservice can work well that way. But if you're asking people about deeper things like satisfaction or how do they feel about certain things, this is where I would probably steer away from them.
Okay, content. Really interesting. So in your Satisfact, your dashboard, like what does it look like? I'm the client. What am I going to get presented with? What am I going to see?
So you are getting a dashboard for sure. But I don't think like this is, so you're getting essentially three things. You're getting a dashboard, which is just you looking at the data. Personally, not a big fan of that. Clients want it, so I'll provide it to them, no problem. Second thing you're getting is a PowerPoint presentation, which is a more detailed explanation, like, hey, this is what we figured out, and this is what it actually means. And the third thing you're getting is obviously the presentation of that PowerPoint presentation, in which you can ask questions and whatnot, plus additional consultation hours. If you ever need a researcher to come in and explain or re-explain the research findings, that's what you get as well. And it's like, you as a researcher kind of have two options. You can either provide findings and take a step back and then kind of look what happens, or you can provide findings and you can stay involved and make sure that these findings are understood correctly. Because if they're not, you can sometimes do even more harm than good. So it's kind of my job, it's part of my responsibility as a researcher to stay in there and help the companies make the best possible changes they can based on the data that I have.
Gotcha. Right. So you present the data, you make sure that it's being interpreted correctly, and as because now they're going to turn this into action plans, right? The company, ideally, they paid for this research, they want to know about it, now they're going to do something, right?
For sure, for sure.
So,
And it's I, I just wanted to add, since I come from the field of like research in the academia and then nonprofit sector, and then the past 6 years I've been doing UX and design research. This post-research support is, I've realized, it's most likely more important than the research itself. Data can be overwhelming, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're developing a product, and then Filip comes in and tells you, "Hey, this is a list of things that might be wrong with your product, or you're not tackling the need in the right way," and that can be overwhelming. And now you're trying to make those changes, and it's very useful if you can come to me and say, "Hey, Phil, these are all the changes that I'm trying to make. Does these make sense based on your data?" Like, and and that kind of prevents you from kind of taking those wrong steps, and it also enables me to keep track of how my research findings affect your either product, or in this case, employee satisfaction. The phenomenon is different. The methodology is essentially the same.
mhm. Okay, I love that, because I know, as you know, as a business owner, if I can't visualize the next steps and what to do with it, then I'll just move on, right? I'll move on to something I
Yeah,
can understand and visualize. But if you give me all the great data, and I'm like, so what?
yeah.
Right?
Oh, for sure, 100%. Yeah,
Okay, amazing. Well, I really love that you go into this mixed methods and you get into the heart of the problem, and then you stick around and you present it and you make sure that, because ultimately that's what we're trying to do, improve the experience for employees, right? That's what the data is there for, right?
for
That
sure,
people feel
for sure.
listened and feel heard.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time, Filip. I really appreciate it. I'm super excited about Satisfact, and I really hope that I get to have a chance to collaborate with you one day and see it for myself. So thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Thank you once again for having me. And as I said, you're getting exclusivity here. So this is the first time I'm mentioning Satisfact publicly, and yeah, here we go.
Okay, amazing. Thanks, Filip.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching The Culture Hack. Do you want to chat culture and engagement? Give us a call and come on the show.